Events now remain, with round 10, the Rally Deutschland making its debut in the series. Run in the west of Germany, close to the borders with both France and Luxembourg, the rally's 3 days are very different in character. 9 men, this is how things stand in the Drivers' Championship. Grunholm now 17 points clear of Colin McRae, with Sainz, Burns, Panizzi and Solberg all covered by 7 points. Mäkinen is 8th on just 15 points and knows anything but a victory here this weekend would be bad news. In the series for manufacturers, meanwhile, Peugeot look to be running away with the title, with Ford now their only realistic opposition. And so to Deutschland. Day 1 of the rally would be the most picturesque, but also the trickiest. The stages ran through the vineyards which produce the white wine for which the Mosel area is famous. Short straights, hairpin bends, climbs and descents, and curbstones lying in wait to rip off wheels were just some of the hazards facing the crews on the day's 8 stages. The 12-kilometre Drontal stage was the first of those 8. The crowds every bit as large as had been forecast. Spectators, in fact, had travelled from all over Europe to see the action. Championship leaders Marcus Grunholm and co-driver Timo Rautiainen were first into the stage. The winners in both Sweden and Finland are keen to secure a second world title well before the season finale in Great Britain and set a storming pace through stage 1. Burns and Robert Reed are also hungry for a second championship title, and so were just as committed on that opening test.
170. Crest, faulty, fast right, cutting mud. 100.
So the two Peugeots set exactly the same time, but what could the rest do? Colin McRae and Nicky Grist knew the recent spell of wet weather had helped them start on equal terms with the Peugeots and Citroëns. All they needed now was a steady run and a helping of good luck.
And two tight hairpin left. 70.
Stalling at this hairpin wasn't the start they needed.
Lots of great minus.
Carlos Sainz and Luis Moya had no such problems, but were only 1.1 seconds quicker than their teammates. Such was McRae's pace. Solberg's confidence is growing with every event. He and Phil Mills, though, have a habit of running into problems early on.
Caution, 4 right minus tightens 3 half long, tightens into turn, tight hairpin right. 20, line into 3 left.
Like Colin McRae, the overshoot didn't lose much time. The Subaru, in fact, was just over a second slower than McRae's Ford. Tommy Mäkinen, however, wasn't so fortunate. Just watch the handbrake lever. The handbrake coming off in his hand meant Mäkinen would struggle with the stage's many hairpin bends, and around 40 seconds would be lost. Subaru had entered no fewer than 4 imprezas on the event, nominating Akim Mortal to score manufacturer points for the team. The very first corner of the stage, though, saw the Austrian slide wide and clout the bank. The damage to the wheel was clear to see, as was the effect on the car's ability to corner. The expected challenge from Citroën got off to a less than perfect start, although Sebastian Loeb might well have won the stage had it not been for this incident.
Gauche 10 épingles, pas corps. Et gauche à fond. Allez, gauche à fond. Allez, gauche à fond sur droite, top 40 corps de rail.
The narrow vineyard roads hardly seemed the ideal territory for the big Skoda Octavias, yet Kenneth Eriksson was just 20 seconds or so slower than the two Peugeot drivers who shared the stage victory. So the rally had two joint leaders, Grönholm and Byrne stopping the clock on exactly the same time. Loeb was third ahead of the two Fords and Solberg was sixth. The bottom half of the top 12 was led by Philippe Bugalski in another Citroën and included both Armin Schwarz and Freddie Loix in the two Hyundais. The virtual spectator overview of stage 2 shows perfectly the kind of roads which made up the majority of day 1. The narrow ribbon of asphalt snakes its way through the vineyards. 90-degree corners, hairpin bends and short straights meant lots of potential spins, overshoots, and as Mortal had already discovered, lots of stones lying at the roadside to rip off a wheel. Grönholm must have been hugely encouraged by his time on stage 1. Finns are meant to be at their best on gravel, not tarmac, and so to share the lead meant some useful points might well be possible here in Germany. Not surprisingly, he and Rautiainen attacked again on stage 2. Burns, though, also pushed. He knew that a win would get his championship hopes back on track, and the Englishman was more than happy to give his colleague an early fight.
Long. 50, easy right, to easy right, 40 flat left, 60 flat right, 20 flat left, minus tightens maybe, 30 flat left, minus tightens, 70 right max.
So Burns would have to settle for second best this time, with Colin McRae also out to make up for the time the stall had cost him on stage 1.
Over crest. Into long 6 left, minus line.
Clearly, it wasn't his morning.
Into right and full right.
Ford had introduced a new shape gear change paddle for this event, but it seemed to be having little effect. Carlos Sainz was only 11th fastest, 1.5 seconds slower than McRae, while Marco Martin and Michael Park in the third focus were having trouble changing down the gears and were well down on their colleagues.
And 2 minus right. 20 braking short, 6 left, 2 right. 30, easy left. 100.
But the Citroën charge many had anticipated had begun. Sebastian Loeb and Daniel Elena saw no repeat of their earlier spin and flew through the stage in pursuit of Grönholm's time.
Attention, droite de frein pour gauche ferme 130 plus court. Ok.
Loeb went fastest, 0.2 of a second quicker than Grönholm, while Bugalski was 4th fastest behind the two Peugeots. No wonder the French spectators were happy. But it wasn't all good news for Citroën. Mrs. Boras suffered brake failure on the stage. The narrow vineyard roads, hardly the place to find out your current stop. To the delight of the local fans, Armin Schwarz was 5th fastest in the Hyundai and climbed to 8th on the leaderboard, while Freddie Loix was 6th quickest in the other accent. The happiest faces of all, though, were those of the Michelin engineers. All of the top 6 times were celebrated on the French rubber. Slight mistake would have cost much time, but not on a tarmac event like Deutschland. Thanks to the virtual spectator, we can see the focus head up the side road. Although the 1995 world champion is quickly in reverse and backing out again, just look at the number of cars which take advantage of that error. Stage 3's name said it all. Moselwein, another 22-kilometre stage among the grapes. Grönholm again pushed, but the rally leader's luck was about to change. The 206 suffered a sudden loss of hydraulic pressure in the stage. The first symptom was losing the gear shift. With Grönholm forced to use both the manual gear change and manual throttle, a time loss was inevitable. Richard Burns showed just how much time his teammate lost as he crossed the finish line.
Easy right plus Slippy and easy right plus 70. Slight lift over crest. Comes to 40.
seconds were lost, so Grönholm dropped to 6th. Petter Solberg was one of those who benefited from Grönholm's problem, the Norwegian climbing to 3rd place. Loeb, though, had the most to gain. Unaware of Grönholm's time loss, the young Frenchman had driven through the stage. Just watch the clock.
J'ai mis 80 mètres ciel, pour attention gauche-droite, frein glisse fort, pour au carrefour gauche-droitière, 4 points sales. Gauche-droitière, 4 points sales, 80 mètres. Gauche 130 moins Milo. Gauche 130 moins Milo. Okay.
14 seconds quicker than Burns, Loeb now led. Philippe Bogalski was second fastest, and by now 4th overall. But Citroen's happiness would be short-lived. Stalling the Zara was only the start of the problems concerning Jesus Puras. Total electrical failure meant he was unable to get it going again, and then an accidental push of the fire extinguisher button merely added insult to injury.
¿Qué haces?
Pensaba que eras el general.
Cago en Dios, tío, pero... Cago en Dios.
Stage 4 was a rerun of Stage 1, the scene of Colin McRae's stall and subsequent time loss. This time there were no such dramas, and the focus was over 5 seconds faster than it had been in the morning, to the delight of some of Colin's fans who'd made the journey to Germany. Grönholm was half a second faster than McRae, unhappy at the lost time, but aware that the only thing he could do was keep up the pace he'd been setting for most of the morning. Burns was a little over a second slower than he'd been first time through, so there'd be no stage win this time. Second place, though, still looked secure. The reason? Third place, Petter Solberg Subaru losing another second to the Peugeot. That's why.
Handbrake. 100. Dry. 100 dry. 6 left plus. Opens 30.
Sebastian Loeb had been fastest on both stages 2 and 3, so could he and Daniel Elena continue their winning ways on 4? We'll give you Burns' time as a comparison.
Droite 650 mètres, droite 80 moins équerre, corde, salle. Attention, droite 80 moins équerre, corde, salle. Allez, 200 mètres, droite 130. Okay.
Yes, they could. Their lead was now over 16 seconds. But Armin Schwarz needed more than a little luck to stay in the top 10. No lasting damage was done, though. The home fans could breathe a sigh of relief. After stage 4, Loeb led Burns by 16.2 seconds, with a real fight going on for third place. Solberg, Bogalski and McRae were within just 4 seconds of each other. Bruno Thierry in a privately entered Peugeot was just outside the top 6, while it was now 11th place Tony Gardemeister who led Skoda's challenge. Stage 5 was then a repeat of stage 2, Schönes Moselland. This time Burns was nearly 10 seconds off the pace, set once again by Loeb.
Pas corde et 100 mètres, gauche 10 épingles, pas corde. 100 mètres, gauche 10 épingles, pas corde.
This was Loeb's 4th stage win from 5, and he hardly seemed to be breaking sweat. Once again it was a Citroën 1-2, with Bogalski second fastest, exactly 2 seconds down on his teammate.
Et à fond 60 mètres, droite 115 ferme, pour gauche 104 léger, resté corde, petit sale. Plus droite 103 extérieur ferme, 103 extérieur ferme, pour gauche 93 corde sale.
It was, though, enough to move Bogalski into 3rd place. Colin McRae wasn't the only driver to have fans in Germany, as Kenneth Eriksson and Tina Turner found the Swedish flag waiting for them on one corner, but the next saw something else lying in wait, a patch of gravel.
40 höger 3 minus lång. Är det drivaxel? Till höger 3 minus lång.
Unser nächstes Team kommt aus fernen Welten.
By now, Hyundai's charge was being led by Freddie Loix and Sven Schmitz. The pair were 3rd fastest, the best of the non-Citroens, and were now in the top 6 for the first time.
Nummer 75 top 10 telling op met een 12 op 75.
stage
Brothers
6,
weniger
Stein und Wein, and yet
als
more
bei
British
seinem
spectators.
Focus oder vorher.
Richard Burns, one of their heroes, was second fastest this time, so preventing yet another Citroën 1-2. With Grunholm third quickest, it seemed the Peugeots were at last fighting back. It was, however, a fight which was going on. But a spin meant Sainz over 5 seconds slower. Don't you just hate it when someone tries to be clever?
Der schnellste
No one's surprised it was again Loeb who went fastest. We're used to seeing a French team dominate a rally, but it's usually Peugeot. First and third meant Citroën must have been more than happy, unlike Mitsubishi. At least the afternoon had seen the cars set quicker times than the morning, but the team were about to lose one of the two Lancers. The thick white smoke from Alistair McRae's car meant two things: a blown turbo and retirement. Stage 8, a second run through Stein und Wein, would be the day's last. Continuing the battle of the French teams, Grunholm was third fastest, just under 2 seconds slower than the stage winner. Burns, second quickest, was a frustrating 0.4 of a second off winning the stage. His commitment clear to see.
Left max cut 30, flat right, big cut low, 70, flat left minus, and flat left minus, cut. 100, medium right, big cut.
A power steering fault meant Colin McRae was only 6th quickest. McRae, one of a number of drivers relieved that stage 7 had been cancelled. Another was Solberg, who was also suffering from power steering problems and would end the day in 5th place. Bugalski was 4th fastest on the stage and so returned to Trier in a comfortable 3rd place, but it was the other Citroën Zara which captured all the headlines today. Sebastian Loeb was again fastest on the final stage, his 6th win from 7, making day 1 of the Rally Deutschland his own.
50 mètres, gauche 110 plus long corde de rail. Gauche 110 plus long corde de rail pour un fond long en ciel. Pour un fond long en ciel et droite de 140. Plus 200 mètres, droite 140 plus court. 200 mètres, droite 140 plus court. Pour un fond.
So at the end of day 1, the leaderboard looks like this. Sebastian Loeb has a lead of exactly 27 seconds over Richard Burns tonight, with Bugalski, McRae, Grunholm and Schwarz rounding off the top 6. Bruno Thierry leads the chasing pack, while a 20-second time penalty for leaving service late has dropped Solberg to 10th place.
It's a new rally, the championship. It's got some unknown quantities. In fact, at day 2, where we are today, in the bomb holder area, which is a military area, has got a more concrete surface rather than an asphalt surface. It's got a lot of mixed surface. It's a very old army base with some old surfaces on it. We've got reports this morning coming in now of some light rain starting to appear. It's very cloudy. If we have a lot of rain, we could have standing water. We're looking at different options this morning between our normal dry tyre through to an intermediate for a damp condition, through to that same option but cut to cope with the standing water and hopefully prevent the aquaplaning.
The day would consist of 8 stages, with the normally secret military roads of the Baumholder training area and that changeable weather providing some tricky new challenges for the crews. But even before the first of those stages, all the talk was of a rare mistake the previous evening by one of the sport's top co-drivers, who'd booked out of a control 1 minute late.
Colin, you picked up a 10-second penalty at the end of yesterday. What happened there?
Maybe you should ask the Welsh wizard.
I'm very upset about it. I mean, I'm very meticulous in these sort of things generally. But 10 seconds, I mean, when you look at the weather today, 10 seconds could be absolutely nothing, and I think Colin has every possibility to get that back without a drama.
It will be a very difficult day today. It's raining and it's a lot of dust on the road, so it will be muddy and very, very slippery, so we'll see.
Stage 9, 5 out. today's first, and the virtual spectator stage guide exposes some of Van Hulder's secrets. You can see that the stage is a lot faster and more open than those on day one. Something it can't show, however, are the thousands of concrete blocks which line the stage, there to prevent tank crews from leaving the road, but which would provide yet another hazard for the competitors. The top 15 were now running in reverse order, so Tommy Mackinnon and Kai Lindstrom were the first crew to find the pools of standing water and patches of sandy soil. At least they kept their Subaru on the road, unlike teammates Aki Mortel and Klaus Vischer, who aquaplaned off the road and retired. Tony Gardemeister in the Skoda, meanwhile, was lucky not to clamp one of the boulders lining the stage. By now, Hyundai were down to one car after Freddie Leutz retired with engine problems. His German colleague, however, was discovering just how tricky the rain had made the stage. Among those who enjoyed the conditions was Petter Solberg. He and co-driver Phil Mills were already back up into 7th place after setting the fastest time so far. But it seemed that the rain and the subsequent tricky tyre choice had given Marcus Grönholm a golden opportunity to fight back, and the Finn would take full advantage. Just watch the time difference compared to Solberg.
Ja oikein pitkä täys. 8 ja vasen täys.
Over 18 seconds quicker, a second per kilometre, but it was clear that Grönholm was attacking. What would his teammate do with some tyres?
70 flat right, 50 flat right in and flat right 70, flat left 80 right max 100, long crest braking 30 flat right in and flat right 50 fast right plus cut slipping maybe to fast right minus. And opens.
Burns, in fact, was over 13 seconds slower than his colleague. Such was Grönholm's pace.
Left minus.
Colin Gray on Pirelli tyres rather than the Michelins of the Peugeots and Citroëns also attacked, still unhappy at Grist's mistake.
Into 6 right. Opens long. Into 6 left. Opens long over crest. 100. Okay.
But he too was a lot slower than Grönholm. Citroën had lost one of their 3 cars on day one, but first and third places were more than enough consolation. Maybe Philippe Bugalski was a little complacent as a result.
Et à fond long ouvre, 40 mètres. Droite à fond long, carrefour, ferme 115, prête à refrain. Ah, très creux.
Zara drove on with little visible damage other than the broken rear bumper. But at the end of the stage, it was clear that all was far from well with the car's engine, and with rear transmission damage as well, the team's second retirement was now surely almost a formality. So Loeb was now the team's only hope, but he wouldn't continue his day one form, becoming another victim of Schwarz's bend.
100 mètres. 100 mètres. 100 mètres gauche, 140, moins long frein pour 40 mètres.
The Frenchman was unhappy at his tyre choice and slipped and slithered his way to only the 6th fastest time. In just one stage, Grönholm's Peugeot had taken a huge amount of time back from the Citroën.
Gauche 130 moins sur droite à fond. Gauche 130 moins sur droite à fond et gauche à fond. Allez, droite à fond et gauche à fond. Ok.
20 seconds lost in the rain then, but Loeb's lead was still intact, even if it had been cut by a quarter. Bugalski retired after completing the stage, so he would soon disappear from the leaderboard, and so Solberg, Schwarz and the others would all move up a place as a result. To get a visual idea of just how crushing Grönholm's performance was, we've called in the virtual spectator to compare his drive with Burns and Loeb on the stage. Almost immediately, Grönholm's car starts to pull away, and despite the fact that Burns and Loeb are fairly evenly matched throughout this section of the stage, just watch Grönholm go. By the time the Peugeot turns from the military road back onto the public highway, Marcus is heading off into the distance. Clearly, a man on a mission. Stage 10, the wonderfully named Panzerplatte. One of the surprises of the stage came from Tony Gladmeister, who proved the big Skoda Octavias were much more powerful on wider stages in Baumholder than on day one's much narrower roads. He was 6th quickest. Armin Schwarz and Manfred Hiemer, though, were about to retire from the rally in the most dramatic way possible. From the onboard camera, the accident doesn't look that bad, but the damage to the accent tells a different story. Hiemer suffered bruising, but Schwarz was taken to hospital with a suspected broken rib. So both of the Hyundais were now out, while 3 of the Peugeots were still in the event. Harry Rovanperä and Wojtek Cylinder, though, were nowhere near the pace of Burns and Grönholm, and were still outside the top 10. Subaru had also lost 2 of their 4 cars, with Solberg lucky not to join Toshi Arai and Ark Immortal after one brief lapse in concentration.
Slippy. Opens. One left. 100.
The previous stage had shown Grönholm's tyre choice to be ideal for the conditions. The 2000 world champion again charged through the Panzerplatte and again set the fastest time. So it was Burns in the number 1 Peugeot who came across the rescue services dealing with Schwarz's accident.
Right cut. Opens. 30. Right max. 150 braking. Feature left minus lock and opens.
At the stage finish, Robert Reid was quick to tell the team how unhappy they were that the stage had been stopped.
Flat right 30, flat right minus over crest in 60. Flat left line 70, left max 80, right max. Yeah, I don't think much about their yellow flag system. It's not very nice to come across ambulances in the middle of the road.
Colin McRae and Nicky Grist were another 10 seconds or so slower than Burns and Reid. One section of soaking wet road completely catching out the Ford pair. McRae, though, still calmly makes an addition to the pace notes for the repeat run through the stage.
Okay, and 6 right.
But what about Lowe? Still unhappy with his tyres, he would surely lose yet more time to Grönholm. The question was, exactly how much time?
Gaucher droiti. Et attention, ciel pour droite 130 bords. Attention, ciel pour droite 130 bords. Et gauche à fond, ouvre long. Gauche à fond, ouvre long. Ok.
Oh là 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 là.
Citroën pour Daniel, spécial terminé.
Stage 11, the second run through Maivalt, and the rain had stopped. The change in conditions and a change in setup saw a transformed Tommi Mäkinen storm through the stage, setting the 3rd fastest time. Marco Martin too was quicker second time around, 23 seconds faster than he'd been on stage 9. The Estonian was now 7th overall, ahead of Tony Gardemeister. But the stage saw more than its fair share of victims. Harry Rovanperä suffered the same kind of hydraulic problems as Grönholm the previous day. The Finn forced to resort to changing gear with the manual gear shift and losing almost a minute as a result. It was, though, Petter Solberg who suffered the most, tackling a 6th gear corner a little too quickly and finding a concrete block in the grass.
6 left minus, tightens up a small bump. 80. 6 right plus. 100.
Yet another blow for Petter and yet another retirement for Subaru. Only Mäkinen's Impreza now remained in the rally. Others too were caught out on the stage, but were more fortunate.
Into 6 right. Well done. And 6 left, opens over crest, into right tightens, to 3 plus, opens.
Even Grunholm found himself offline through that corner, but survived to set the fastest time for the 3rd stage in a row. The gap from 1st place to 3rd was now less than 50 seconds.
Oikealle 4 ja oikein nopea risteys ahdas. 400. Oikein pitkä nopea risteys kirraa paskaa.
Burns was second quickest, again taking a few precious seconds off low, but again losing a few to his teammate.
Long to long crest, 200.
The rally leader himself was a little happier in the afternoon, but still found himself unable to match the pace of the charging Grunholm. Stage 12, the 8.3-kilometre Haalkreuz test, and Mäkinen's transformation from zero to hero was continuing. Second quickest this time, the sole surviving Subaru was now 10. For the Skoda pairing of Kenneth Eriksson and Tina Turner, though, it was their turn to struggle. They'd battled with a transmission problem earlier in the day, but it was now their alternator which had failed, forcing Eriksson to try an emergency repair at the roadside after the stage. No such problems for Carlos Sainz, who was the fastest of the 3 Ford drivers on the stage. 4th quickest, 6 seconds up on Colin McRae. The Scotch co-driver Nicky Grist missed a pace note. Grunholm again stormed through the stage, aware that both the men ahead of him were now definite targets. On this occasion, however, the Finn had to settle for the 3rd fastest time, behind both Mäkinen and Burns.
Turn 90 right. Slippy.
This was Burns' first stage win of the day, but it was a clean sweep of 4 out of 4 for Peugeot. Gone, it seemed, was the Loeb and Citroën domination of day 1. Sebastian, though, was lucky to still be in the rally.
Et double attention, droite 140 plus, ouvre en
Unlike Solberg, there were no concrete blocks for Loeb to hit, although Grunholm was unaware of the Frenchman's problem as he swapped his tyres around at the stage finish.
Oh, Marcus, your charge is continuing. I don't know what the times are here. I only have Sebastian's 5:11. What is going on? What's going on? I don't understand.
What had happened was Loeb losing around 16 seconds to Grunholm thanks to that spin. The Citroën driver's lead was now down to just 6.2 seconds, while another driver on a charge was Francois Delacour, only 7/10 of a second away from snatching 7th place from Marco Martin. Last in this batch of 3 stages was the 20.8-kilometre sprint through Erzweiler. This was the stage which saw the return of Tommy Mäkinen's bad luck. Only an overshoot this time, but any thoughts of improving on 10th place would have to wait.
Vielä taaksepäin, tuota ylempi tie, se on vain tää.
A brilliant second fastest, Francois Delacour did move up a place. Clearly the Mitsubishi engineers were learning a lot about the new Lancer on tarmac. Delacour's next target was still a long way off though. The Monteri's Peugeot was 32 seconds ahead of the Mitsubishi. All that of course mattered little to Marcus Grunholm, who was thinking about victory, not 6th place. Stage 13 though would be unlucky for the Finn.
Yeah, he does. Noni.
Stalling the 206 with Grunholm was only 6th fastest, although he still beat Richard Burns, nearly 3.5 seconds slower than his colleague. So the Peugeot run of stage victories was finally at an end. Instead, it was left to Sebastian Loeb and co-driver Daniel Eleanor to take their first stage win of the day, opening out their lead over Burns and Reed once again to nearly 19 seconds.
150 mètres. Droite 90 moins corde très profonde. 150 mètres. Droite 90 moins corde très profonde. Et droite 130 pont Milan.
Stages 14 and 15 would round off the action in Baumholder, with only a super special stage left to complete day 2. Panzerplatte, rerun as stage 14, would claim another victim when Tony Gardemeister crashed his Skoda out of the rally. The afternoon sunshine and the drying roads meant the Fords and their Pirelli tyres were struggling once again. Carlos Sainz was 6th fastest on both stages 14 and 15, with Colin McRae 5th and 9th quickest. Both Focus drivers, though, looked relatively secure in their positions tonight, with McRae going into day 3 in 4th place, over 30 seconds ahead of his teammate. Stage 14, however, saw Grunholm bounce back from that spin on the previous test. Fastest again, his 4th stage win from the day's 6 so far, and then second quickest on stage 15. He and Timo Rautiainen will start day 3 only some 25 seconds down on the leader. Richard Burns was just as consistent, 2nd fastest and then 3rd, but knows he has a fight not only with Loeb, but with his colleague on the final day. Loeb himself, 3rd quickest on 14 and then the fastest time by just 0.2 of a second on 15, confirmed that he has no intention of letting either of the two Peugeot drivers deny him victory in Germany. Tomorrow should be very interesting. With Grunholm winning the Super Special, this is how the leaderboard looks going into the final day. Loeb, Burns and Grunholm are set to continue their thrilling battle, while McRae, Sainz and Thierry round off the top 6. Another scrap worth watching tomorrow will be the one between Marco Martin and Francois Delacour. They're just 1.4 seconds apart tonight. So another stiff test for the crews lay ahead. This rally was far from over. 7 stages made up the day, 6 on roads like the ones Timo was looking at, with the final stage another run around the Super Special, which caused Sebastian Loeb the problem at the end of the previous day. The 15-kilometre Peterburg stage, like virtually all the others, would see its fair share of incidents. The top 12 will run in reverse order, with Kenneth Eriksson's Skoda given the dubious honour of leading the cars into the stage. The Swede, though, was 8th quickest. Following Armin Schwarz's retirement, German honours were in the hands of Armin Kramer and Ford Focus. Kramer and co-driver Dieter Schneppenheim set off into the stage in 10th place, but they wouldn't be driving out. This was a huge accident, but happily both driver and co-driver were unhurt. Running 2 minutes behind the Ford, Tommy Mäkinen and Kai Lindström were the first crew to reach the accident.
Ja vasen täys 250.
Tommy clearly didn't know whether to carry on or slow down, since the stage could well be cancelled as Kramer's car was now on fire. Marco Martin was another who'd be slowed. The first thing he and Michael Park knew about the accident was catching an ambulance driving towards the scene.
Radar pointer. That was no. It wasn't. No, I didn't see it. It was a yellow flag. Oh, it was a yellow flag. Yeah. Okay. We have waved yellow.
Delacour was the last to tackle the stage before it was halted, but he and Martin had given an estimated time rather than the actual time they took. When the stage was restarted, it seemed Carlos Sainz's front focus was reluctant to get going again. There were two problems. The car had broken the timing beam, so the clock was ticking, plus they were blocking the start area, although that was an issue Lewis Moyer could do something about.
You can help! Yes!
Sainz lost well over a minute, but others would also lose precious time on the stage. Grosjean, in fact, overshot 2 junctions, so could only manage the 7th quickest time. But the question the British fans wanted to ask was, what would Richard Burns do? They soon had their answer. He and Robert Reid were fastest so far. Only Loeb now remained.
Devant à droite 120 Milan et gauche 130 plus Milan ouvre et ferme 140. Gauche 130 plus Milan ouvre et ferme 140. Ferme 140 et 130 mètres gauche à fond. 130 mètres gauche à fond.
Okay. Yet another stage win for the Citroën. Loeb's intentions were clear. So his lead had grown to 12 seconds. Grosjean was nearly 25 down on Burns, and Colin McRae, Bruno Thierry and Marco Martin were all well spaced out. Sainz's starting problems had dropped him to 9th, but there were suggestions that the stewards were unhappy at what had happened. Stage 18, Saint-Ven-de-Levant, and time to call in the services of the virtual spectator. It might only have been 17 kilometres or so, but it was one of the rally's fastest stages. Long straights with the occasional hairpin bend thrown in for good measure. The stage was a test of nerve as much as driving skill and car performance. This was going to be spectacular. All but one of the teams had lost at least one car, but the exception was Peugeot. Manuel Alpera and Vito Cylinder were 4th quickest on the stage and 10th overall. But the end of the stage saw the 206 minus its rear screen, a sight quickly becoming familiar in recent months. Apart from the battle for victory, one of the other scraps worth watching was between Marco Martin and Francois Delacour for 6th place. The Mitsubishi driver was steadily slipping back, however, not that you'd have known from his performance. Thanks to Sainz's misfortune, Bruno Thierry's privately entered Peugeot was now 5th, but the Belgian driver was still a minute and 19 seconds behind 4th-placed Colin McRae. If we hitch a ride aboard the Focus, the stunning speeds and absolute commitment make for incredible viewing.
Crest and 6 right, minus cat. Into left tightens the 6 minus cat. And 6 crest into 6 left. Into 6 right cat, straight 100 turn, 2 left cat. 150.
Grosjean, it seemed, was now playing a waiting game, hoping that the pressure on the pair ahead would cause something or someone to break. That didn't stop him going quickest so far, though. Burns was next, but any thoughts that he might be easing off were quickly shattered. Just watch the clock.
50 medium left minus in long, tightens maybe to slight right 100, easy right plus in and flat right 60 flat right minus, cut long 80 braking, turn medium left minus 100.
Loeb knew that he had to attack if he was to hang on and claim his first World Rally victory.
Droite 630 mètres, droite 140 moins corde légère, jet léger. Droite 140 moins corde légère, jet léger, 80 mètres, droite 140 moins corde légère. Droite 140 moins corde légère, ok.
Only second best this time, his lead was now down to a little over 8 seconds. Stage 19, the first run through the 15.8-kilometre Bosenberg test. Part of this stage ran through a small village, and this 90-degree left-hand bend would cause more than a few anxious moments. Kenneth Eriksson, the first to discover that fact. Harry Robben did likewise, but Peugeot's luck had run out and he wouldn't get away with it. The 206 would soon be out. Marco Martin's problem came in the countryside, but blink and you'd miss it. What Michael Park and everyone else hadn't seen was this deer, which Marco managed to miss. Sainz was exactly 8 seconds quicker than Martin, and was now concentrating on snatching 8th place away from Francois Delacour. But all the attention was on the top 3. Once again, Grosjean was quickest so far, but the leading pair was still to go.
Safety, slight right, long, safety, slight right. Easy lane, and fast lane, plus opens. 150.
The way Burns attacks the 90 left shows just how hard he's trying. Loeb's not going to win without a fight. The Citroën driver duly rose to the challenge, but as he tackled the stage, there were rumours that the stewards were also looking at the mistake he made on the previous night's Super Special. Driving the wrong way on a stage carries the penalty of exclusion. Just the kind of worry you don't need when you're trying to win a rally.
Alarme gauche 140 plus Milan et ciel pour léger gaucher. Ciel pour léger gaucher, frein pour 200 mètres devant arbre, gauche 50 équerre. Et frein pour 200 mètres devant arbre, gauche 50 équerre. Allez, gauche 50 équerre et 200 mètres. Allez, ok.
Stages 20, 21 and 22 were repeats of the previous 3. By now, Tommy Mäkinen had climbed to 7th. The Subaru team had been using the final day as a test for the next round in Italy, but had now switched back to a known setup in an attempt to climb into the top 6. This time, Mäkinen's pace was significantly quicker than the men around him. Keep an eye on Marcus Grönholm's time to see just how quickly the Subaru was travelling.
Ja oikein täys. Stage is clear for Marcus.
The third Peugeot in the top 5 meanwhile was driven by Bruno Thierry, who was now 25 seconds ahead of 6th place Marco Martin with just 3 stages left. Those 3 stages were all Richard Burns had left to claw back the 13.3 seconds to Sebastian Loeb. There was only one thing for it, to keep up the incredible pressure.
Et ferme 140, ferme 140 et 130 mètres, gauche à fond. Allez, 130 mètres, gauche à fond. Ok.
So Burns was quicker, but was it too little, too late?
Terminé.
Le mieux, moins bien.
The gap between the Zara and the 206 was now 12.2 seconds, with less than 40 kilometres of stages left. Behind that thrilling scrap, the rest of the top 6 looked relatively secure, but Tommy Mäkinen had one eye on Marco Martin's 6th place, and Carlos Sainz was now less than 6 seconds off grabbing 8th. Stage 21, another thrash through Sint-Vendelerland, and things were getting tense. Once again, Mäkinen charged through the stage. Any hopes of a 5th world title looked to have evaporated, but Tommy still loves a fight, even if it's for 6th place and 1 point. Marco Martin was 6.7 seconds slower than Mäkinen, but he too was still attacking. With Loeb and Thierry ineligible for manufacturer points, he knew that the 3 points for his team were far more important than the 1 for himself. But yet again it seemed the 3 men in the podium positions were competing in a rally of their own.
Oikein nopea, älä. 8, oikein jouheleikkaa.
With Grönholm again quickest so far, Burns had a familiar target to aim for.
Braking long crest, a slight left long, 60 turn, 90 left.
But as on every other stage today, it was down to Loeb to decide whether it was the red car or the silver one that would be quickest. In the end, he had to settle for second best, just 1/10 of a second slower than Burns, but the pressure was getting to his nose, of all things. Stage 22 was the last of the proper tests, only the super special now remained. Yet again, Mäkinen was faster than Martin. This was the Tommy of old, it seemed, with just 5 seconds separating the pair going into the final stage. Not that the Ford driver had given up just yet.
200, crest 6 minus right, tightens to junction 3, in line. 70 flat left, 130.
Mäkinen, though, was only 4th quickest, since the top 3 had a strangely familiar look to it. Yet again, it would be Loeb and Burns scrapping for the stage win, with Grönholm 3rd fastest. But would it be the Peugeot or the Citroën which topped the timesheets?
Plus cut. 70, flat right to right, max 120.
Despite Burns' best efforts, this time it was Loeb who was quickest. This was, though, the closest finish to a rally we've seen for a long while, and was sure to go down to the wire. Stage 23 was another sprint around the St. Wendel Super Special. Carlos Sainz and Lewis Moyer had recovered to 8th after their earlier problem, but at least any threat of punishment by the stewards had gone away. Still, they were unable to score points for either themselves or their team in Germany. It would be a different matter for Mäkinen. Quicker than Sainz, he was already in line for a couple of manufacturer points, but could he edge past Martin and claim the first of the drivers' points as well?
150, junction 2 minus right, and hairpin left.
To the Estonians' relief, the Ford Focus was over a second faster than the Subaru, and so 6th place was his. Bruno Thierry, the best of the privateers, finished 5th, confirming that he's still able to beat some of the best drivers in the world on asphalt, if only he'd had one of the factory cars. And Nicky Grist would finish 4th, relieved of the 3 points, but still well aware that on dry tarmac, the Ford-Pirelli combination is still no match for the French cars on Michelin rubber. Marcus Grönholm was 3rd, content with his tactics, and aware that the hydraulic problem on day 1 was all that had kept him out of the fight for victory. For the final time, Burns would set a target for Loeb to beat. As he crosses the line, the voice of his boss is ready to offer congratulations.
To flat right, 60, flat left, long.
Congratulations, come back here. We are proud of you.
But Prevera knew that it would take a major problem to deny the other French team their victory. Sure enough, the Citroën Zara and its young driver performed faultlessly to set a time just 0.4 of a second slower than Burns, and so take the team's first win of the year. Burns for a great battle. A delighted Sebastian Loeb takes the win then by 14.3 seconds from Burns, with Grönholm, McRae, Thierry and Marco Martin getting the rest of the drivers' points. Behind the top 6, Tommy Mäkinen and Francois Delacour scored the remaining manufacturer points. After 10 rounds, this is how the drivers' table looks. Grönholm's lead growing to 18 points, with Burns now 3rd ahead of Sainz. The championship is far from decided though, with another 40 points on offer, so even Mäkinen still has a mathematical chance of the title.
Yeah, I'm very pleased, and to win here, it's the best thing could happen to me, because it's a race which is only at 200 kilometers from my house, and I have a lot of fans and friends here, so I'm very, very happy to win here.
There is a bit of a black cloud hanging over it at the moment, a bit like Monte Carlo. The stewards are meeting tonight about this super special incident. What do you feel about that?
I feel it's not possible because I just brake a little bit too late for hairpin and I turned. Everybody, it was no other solution to turn here, so I turned. And
we're getting better and better and stronger and more confident the whole time with the car. There's tough competition in this championship and we're getting closer and closer, no doubt about that.
You're allowing yourself to think of a second World Championship now from now on, do you think?
Not really, but I am maybe thinking in that way and securing some points and not fighting really 110%.
In the championship for manufacturers, Peugeot claimed yet another maximum 16 points since Citroën can't score. Surely it's now a case of when they win the title, not if. But after the disappointment of losing victory in Monte Carlo thanks to a mistake by his team, this time Sebastian Loeb can finally claim his first World Rally win, and a popular maiden victory it was. The series stays in Europe and on tarmac for the next round, the Rally San Remo in Italy, where with no Citroëns, the Peugeots are expected to clean up. Here in Germany this weekend, however, the first World Championship Rally Deutschland has provided us with more than its fair share of drama, excitement and controversy. Hundreds of thousands of spectators have enjoyed the action, while Peugeot have taken another huge step towards their third successive manufacturer's title. Join us again in Italy in late September, but from Germany, it's goodbye.